Let's get started. Thank you for being here. As I mentioned last night, thank you for your patience. I know I've talked to some of you before and asked you to wait till tonight. We continue to work on this case all day long, and I do have, once again, a prepared statement. After that, I will take some questions from all of you. So I'd like to start with a brief recap of the events. On Tuesday, Marysa Nichols was reported missing. This triggered an investigation that has been nearly nonstop since then. On Thursday at approximately 11:03 hours, a deceased female is located in a rural area west of Red Bluff High School and east of Baker Road. The Red Bluff Police Department requested an activation of the child abduction response team upon locating the deceased female. Within a few hours of locating the victim, we were able to identify the victim as 14-year-old Marysa Nichols. This card activation resulted in approximately 60 additional personnel assisting the Red Bluff Police Department. The personnel consisted of members of the Red Bluff Police Department, Tama County Sheriff's Department, Tama County Probation Department, CHP, Tama County District Attorney's Office, Tama County Sheriff's Search and Rescue, and Red Bluff Police Department volunteers in police service, otherwise known as VIPs. It's important to me that you acknowledge the assistance that the Red Bluff Police Department received, because without the assistance of these organizations, we would not be as productive as we are, and we would not be as far along as we are in our investigation. It is truly a team effort. Today we were operating with a little over 40 personnel from these departments, and we are going to continue our investigation with their assistance tomorrow. As you know from last night's press conference, members of the Red Bluff Police Department searched the creek area 3 times before the search on Thursday that resulted in the victim being located. This has raised some obvious questions as to why we were conducting searches in this area. So I'd like to start by clarifying that part of this investigation. The simple fact was that on Tuesday night, February 26th, there was essentially zero information available that tended to provide any clue as to the whereabouts of Marysa Nichols. All we had available was that she was dropped off at 9:50 a.m. She missed her 1 p.m. class and was not at home. There was no information by anyone indicating how, where, or why she had gone. What we did know is that she normally walked through a creek area when traveling on foot between home and school. Without any additional leads or information, our officers used this as a starting point to look for Marysa. At this point, there was nothing significant to point to this area. It was simply a starting point. Late Wednesday, we received additional information from the high school surveillance cameras that led us to return to this area. But again, it was still a starting point from which to continue the search. There simply was no information regarding the victim's location. So now I would like to show you a video clip from some of the high school's video surveillance cameras. This clip will show a white male walking eastbound on Douglas Street and then turning southbound into the parking lot of Red Bluff High School. The witness has described this person as a white male, possibly in his 30s, 5'10" plus or minus, stocky build, natural red goatee, short to medium length, red shorts, possibly cut off sweatpants, tattoo lower left ankle, unknown design but was colorful with multiple colors. We are describing this individual as a person of interest and are seeking the assistance of the public in identifying him as well as determining his whereabouts. Any information can be communicated to the Red Bluff Police Department by calling 2 tip lines that have been set up. Those phone numbers are 530-737-3160 and 530-737-3225. We ask that the media advertise these phone numbers, and we encourage anyone with information to contact the Red Bluff Police Department. So, with that, Dan, if you would cue up that video, please. You may want to adjust your cameras because it's going to be on the screen over there. So, you're going to see a white male coming from this direction right here.
Does everybody have their cameras where they want them?
We can play it a couple times. It's not going to take long. Just play it. That male right there is going to walk to this corner and walk southbound into the parking lot, following that car in. You can see that he's looking back right now. Okay, so this is a person that we framed as a person of interest. He is about a minute and a half ahead of our victim walking the same direction. So we have an interest in speaking to him to learn what he knows, what he may have seen, what people he may have seen. He may be potentially a good witness, or he may be something else. But at this point, we are interested in locating him, identifying him, and talking to him. We are currently in the process of trying to develop a composite photograph of this person. As soon as that composite photograph is completed, we will make that available to the media. We will request the assistance of the FBI to enhance this video to see if we can get a better picture of his face. In the meantime, we'd like this information out to the public so that we can request their assistance to locate and identify this person. Somebody saw him on that campus that day. We're asking for their assistance. Somebody saw him walking on Douglas Street. We'd like to know who he is. And that's all the additional information I have at this time. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Can you give that suspect description one more time?
Absolutely. He's described as a white male, possibly in his 30s, 5 feet 10 plus or minus, stocky build, natural red goatee, short to medium length, red shorts, possibly cut off sweatpants, tattoo on the lower left ankle, no design, but it was colorful with multiple colors. And just to perhaps get ahead of on a couple of your questions, you may ask why we chose now to release that information, why we didn't release that earlier. The fact of the matter is that we had an interest in preserving any evidence that we may locate as a result of finding this person, so we had to run out a couple of significant leads today. That did not result in us locating this person, and now we're asking for the public assistance. So, any questions?
Was the area where her body was found, was that area searched? Do you believe that she was killed right there or brought back?
Well, I'm going to answer half of your question. Again, just as I mentioned last night, I'm not going to reveal any information that might compromise the investigation. As I explained last night, we withhold certain facts of any investigation before we apprehend the suspect, so that when we interview that suspect, we can do a better job of interviewing and interrogating that person. However, the question as to whether we searched the area, we've conducted multiple searches of that area. We have processed 3 different crime scenes in that area, and our crime scenes have expanded as the day has gone by, yesterday and today. We've used multiple teams to search that area. We've done grid searches. We've done searches involving multiple people in a skirmish line in order to find evidence. And as far as details of the actual homicide at this point, I'm not going to release anything.
Any idea why she left campus?
My understanding is that it has to do with her scheduling, that she was there for 1 hour for her class and she didn't need to return until 1 p.m.
Could you give those streets again, where the person of interest was walking? I'm not familiar with that area.
The street right here is Douglas Street.
Okay, Douglas.
This is a parking lot into the high school parking lot for the students.
So which direction was he
When
turning?
you saw him
into
walking, he was
Douglas?
walking eastbound on Douglas,
Mhm.
and he turned southbound into the parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
Can you say what she was wearing when you found her body?
Not at this time, I'm not going to comment on that. Yes.
You probably can't answer this, but this is just something, people have been talking and something that I was told. That previous to finding her body, during the search in the creek, that you had found her backpack and a shoe?
Honestly, I don't have the answer to that right now, and I can certainly check on that unless Lieutenant Flaherty, you are able to provide that information. I don't know. So I'll check back with the team and see where we sit with that.
Okay, one more really quick. I'm not really familiar with that creek, but I've also been told that it has a lot of heavy vegetation in that area. Is that true, that it has a lot of, it's a bushy, heavy vegetation?
Well, it's actually kind of both. I mean, there's parts of the creek where there's lots of trees and lots of shrubbery, and then there's, as you move further east, some of that dissipates and it's a little more open. There's some vacant areas without any shrubbery or grass or anything like that.
And you couldn't say what type of that area she was found in?
At this point in time, I'm not going to give any specifics as to where she was located, other than that she was about a half mile west of the school between Baker and the school.
Thank you.
I guess this is kind of in line with the backpack question, but did she have anything of value on her, such as lunch money or?
Part of that we don't know because in the process of a criminal investigation like this, when a body is recovered from a crime scene, some of those things you can't determine until the time of the autopsy. We'll have better information on that after tomorrow's autopsy.
There's on Twitter, there's a photo going around that has a text on it that says Marysa was killed and raped. I was wondering if you could address that rumor that's circulating.
It's on Twitter.
Yeah, there's a photo of Marysa, and above it says, you know, paying tribute to Marysa, who was brutally raped and killed. I was wondering.
I'll tell you what I will do. I will make sure that Lieutenant Flaherty follows up on that lead and we attempt to find out who wrote that Twitter, because we want to talk to that person and find out how they could make such a statement, because at this point, we can't tell you whether or not in fact that's true.
Is the autopsy being conducted here, or is it gone to Sacramento or Woodland? I think it's,
Typically, our autopsies are conducted in Woodland at the pathologist down there, and I believe that's where it's
That's-
scheduled to be.
in
I'll have two
Woodland.
detectives going there tomorrow.
Can you just repeat one more time? You said he was walking that way and he looked over his shoulder and she was behind him, you said?
She was on that street, and about a minute and a half later, she would appear at the same corner. And out of respect for the family, we're not gonna show that video tonight.
Okay.
Do you suspect that's what he turned around to look at?
I can't answer that question. That's pure speculation at this point. All I can tell you is that he turned to look, and that she arrived about a minute and a half after that.
So she was coming to the high school at this point.
And she was walking the same direction.
She was leaving the high school.
Yes, and help me out here, Dan, the class that she attends there's a classroom that's west of where this location is located over here. So she had completed her work, and she was walking away from her classroom.
And then at some point she might have cut through.
She turned southbound into the park.
Okay.
So she followed his path? So, I'm trying to-
No? Any other questions?
Yes. Do you think she knew the killer?
That's speculation. I can't answer that question.
Questions that my producer requested.
I'm sure he asked a lot of questions.
Are you looking at her computer to see if she was up to anything that maybe may have led to this?
We have a number of things that we're investigating, and as I mentioned earlier, details of that investigation are going to be sketchy at best at this point. This is the information I think is important for the public to know, and it's important for us to see if we can get assistance in identifying that individual right there.
And are you holding a press conference tomorrow?
That will depend upon any further results from this investigation. This is something that we felt important to get out. We may move towards just doing press releases rather than a full-blown press conference. For example, our hope is to have a composite drawing tonight or tomorrow. Once we have that available, we will make it available to the media. We want to get that out. And if that's the only additional information, there may not be a need for a press conference.
Are you interviewing sex offenders in the radius area?
We have made multiple contacts with registered sex offenders.
Does that mean this may have been a,
We don't know, but we have no known suspects, and we're not discounting anything at this point.
another question I've been forced to ask?
Forced to ask.
Do you think she was up to no good?
Do I think what?
She was up to no good.
Absolutely not.
Can you please call my producer and tell him that?
I don't need to, it's on camera. Yes, sir.
So, I was wondering, is this person of interest, does he have any, is there any indication that he has a relationship with the school or has been there before this date?
Again, I don't know because I don't know who he is. We want your assistance in finding that person. Once we find him and interview him, then we can better answer that question.
And you said colorful tattoo, so you don't know the shape of it exactly?
We don't know the design, we just know a witness has provided us with information that it's colorful, has multiple colors in it, and it's on the left ankle.
So other than this video, there was someone that actually saw him on campus yesterday?
No, that's not what I said. I said we have a witness who identified that tattoo in that manner.
Do you know where this witness saw the person? Don't suppose you know.
No.
Is there a way we can get a closer look at that, so we can?
I have my computer screen up and
The best we can do for you at this point is you can see it there, or you can see it on the computer screen, and,
Is there any way you could just rerun through that again with the timeline, play the video one more time?
the timeline.
Of the minute, I'm kinda confused with the minute and a half and where she is.
Well, he's right there, and as he turns and walks, about a minute and a half later, she would arrive at that corner.
At that point.
And it's date and timestamp, chief, at the top left corner of the screen.
And then she walked up there.
Any other questions?
And did you say that he looked behind him, he turned back?
Yeah, he did that on the film when I played it. We can play it again if you'd like to.
No, that's okay, but not particular, you don't know why he looked back?
I have no idea.
No idea why, because she would have been walking up quite a bit later than that
Probably.
moment, okay.
No, she was at school and then I guess she turns, comes up to this road down Douglas and then makes a right-hand turn in front of that sign, like right where he is.
Let's kind of stick to what we're here for, and I want you to focus on that person.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I really don't want this to turn into a story about where the victim was. I want this to turn into a story about that man, and I want the assistance of the public in finding that man.
What time is it, this video?
11:01.
There's a date stamp right there, 11:01 and 48 seconds. Yes,
Is there any indication about how that man got into the area? Did he, like, a vehicle, walked, or, got close to the
maybe
scene?
this will help with your understanding of this video clip. The school has multiple security cameras in place. They pan at different times. And so a person could actually walk and at one point be in the view of the camera, and then it pans the other way. Another person could walk in that same area and not be on camera. So this is just a snippet of information, because in about a few seconds, he's gonna walk out of this picture and not be seen. So I have no idea where he came from. We want to find out.
Do you have him on other video cameras? I'm not asking specifically which ones, but you have more angles of, that show this.
There's
interest?
another camera that has a different angle it's very, very unclear, and there's really nothing you can determine from that particular one. Other than that, there's nothing else.
This isn't a question, I probably speak for all of us. We apologize for all of these, what seem ridiculous questions, but as soon as we put any information out, we get slammed with questions too.
I understand that, and there's no ridiculous questions, but they're just questions that I can't and won't answer, and when those come up, that's what I will say. I've probably actually already provided you more information than I intended to tonight. So, if you don't have any other questions at this point, I ask that you do a story that, one, includes our tip line numbers on the screen so people can see it. Two, that you focus on that individual, and that you let the public know that we are asking their assistance in identifying that individual. That should be the focus of your story. Yes, sir.
Could this video be provided to us to play on our websites?
I'm not sure. I need to take some time to think about that and check with my command staff and see if they're willing to do that at this point. Anything else?
I heard you were knocking around neighborhoods, probation and police. Is that true that you're going door to door around the school asking for information?
Well, let me explain that so you understand the CART team principle. It's made up of multiple professionals, and the fact that one is a probation officer versus a sheriff's deputy or a police officer doesn't necessarily mean anything. It means they're part of the team.
I just meant law enforcement in general. Were they going around?
We have been going around the neighborhoods and doing what's in our business known as canvas, and we were doing that in multiple neighborhoods. and in fact, we will continue to do that. We have more things planned out for tomorrow as well as Sunday. And as I mentioned last night, we are vigorously investigating this case. We are going to utilize all the resources we can to bring it to a successful resolution, and sometimes that takes a little bit of time. Anything else? Yes, sir.
I was wondering, is there anything else you can provide us about the man, like, any place where you believe he might be more likely to be, where people should keep an extra eye out?
No, in fact, that's one reason why we're bringing this to the public, is because we don't have that information. What you see is what we know. Somebody else saw that, and somebody else saw that probably closer than us, and we're looking for your assistance in finding that individual. And as I said, he's a person of interest. He may merely be a witness, and he may be able to provide useful information. It just depends on when we find him and contact him, and we do need to do that. It's important that we know who he is. You look like you had a question?
I do, but I know you're not gonna answer it.
All right.
But I'll try anyway.
Okay.
Do you have DNA evidence or any sort of physical?
One thing about modern professional law enforcement is that there's probably not a crime scene that we ever operate in that doesn't have DNA evidence. I mean, it's becoming so commonplace that when we have burglaries, we take DNA evidence. So
Seminal fluid type
that's-
evidence?
that's everyone thinks that's DNA evidence. DNA, if I pick up this microphone, I'm leaving DNA evidence on that. And in a commercial burglary, we can swab that and get DNA evidence. We've solved burglaries that way. So we always look for that kind of DNA evidence, regardless of whether it's a homicide or a property crime. To be clear, what we know and what this is classified as a homicide and nothing else at this time.
Okay, we'll get all this out, like, we'll just blast it all out there, see if anybody recognizes him and.
That is the important part of this investigation right now. The focus should not be where our victim was at this time, and be respectful of that, be respectful of the family. And I think, unless there's any other questions, we've kind of gone over the same thing, and we really have a very small part to give here, so I'm going to conclude this press conference, and as I mentioned before, we'll follow up with additional information as we can, and unless there's a need for it, they probably be just a press release that will fax out to all of you. Okay?
Are you gonna give one, I'm sorry, are you gonna give one tomorrow for sure, no matter whether you have new information or not, just to give us an update, or can we expect one, or only if you have something to say?
I hate to say that you can expect one, because then that means you're anticipating
We'll
one.
expect one, yes.
And at this point, if there is no new information that I can share with you, or there's no new information that I believe will be beneficial to this investigation, in the course of this investigation, then no, I will not do a press conference. If there is something that I think is beneficial, and quite honestly, for the investigation, then we will do so. But our purpose here tonight is clear. Our purpose here is to request assistance from the public, and that's why we're doing this.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there any expectation of new information coming from the autopsy scheduled for tomorrow?
There's always new information that comes from an autopsy. I have no idea what that could be. It'd be just pure speculation at this point. And if we do receive that, it could be one of those many things that I can't share with you. Yes, sir. Last question.
What evidence leads you to believe this is a homicide?
Again, specific details of the crime I'm not going to share. Be assured that we know and have determined that it's a homicide. And at some point in time, you will receive additional information on that. This is just not the time and place. Thank you. Here's copies of the press release. We'll let you know whether we can release that video.